is a live, copyrighted presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time now for RadioLawTalk.com with your host, Frederick Penny, attorney at law. And now, RadioLawTalk.com.
Happy Veterans Day. Thank you to our veterans. We love our veterans, those who have served us as Americans and sacrificed their life, their family, their time, their efforts. Again, thank you, veterans. My name is Frederick Penny, Radio Law Talk. Those of you who are joining us, there are some stations that join us our third hour. This is our third hour of Radio Law Talk. I am the host. Denise Dirks to my right is my co-host. My other co-hosts are Todd Cunin to my left and Chris Rodriguez. We are so happy to be here. It's a beautiful day. We would like to thank and welcome the Nevada Talk Network, NTN, KNNT, Battle Mountain 98.5 FM, KELY, Ely, Nevada 1230 AM, KAVB, Hawthorne, Nevada 98.7 FM, and KPKK, Amargosa Valley 101.1 FM. We are happy to have you on board.
And KNNR in Reno, 1400 AM, also
That's exactly
part of that
right.
network,
That's exactly KNNR Reno. We also like to thank KRAC, KRAC, and KBLF up in Redding,
and
California.
KHI also.
That's exactly
so
right.
KHI is one of our sister affiliates, and we also want to thank Satellite Radio Network.
That's exactly right, and others. So Radio Law Talk's taken off. We got more stations popping on. We've got some we're in the works with, and that'll be coming a little bit later. But Radio Law Talk, if you want to call us, just call us at 855-LAW-RADIO. You want to tweet us, just tweet us at Radio Law Talk, right? And
if you want to watch us, you can watch us on our YouTube channel, Radio Law Talk, or you could podcast our shows from the past, www.radiolawtalk.com.
Be careful, because if you're watching, I was just informed earlier this show that everything we say, even when we're off the air,
will be held against you in a court of law?
Well, and it may be held against me in a court of law, yes.
Yeah.
So,
we have a different standard on YouTube, thank goodness.
I'm sorry. I'll apologize in advance.
So what we do is our YouTube camera runs even during the breaks, and so Chris doesn't say anything, but sometimes Chris gets a little excited. And
when we talked about mooning, at the case or no case last, in the BA, and I was demonstrating that off the air, and that's when Fred said, "Hey, be careful, because even when you're off the air, you're on the internet."
We have insurance. We have insurance.
We may need it.
That's Cal Hunter behind the glass. He's our 3-time Emmy Award. He gets so mad. I keep saying this because it just drives him crazy. 3-time Emmy Award nominee. That's all we got to say is nominee. And he's a great producer. And then we've got Seth Madden, our call screener, helping us out. We do a case or no case here. That is a really fun thing where Cal throws a case out. We don't know what the case is about. He does not tell us. We put our arms to the square. Isn't that true, Todd?
Yep.
I don't know if it's a perfect square. Mine's more of a 89-degree angle.
Yeah, but we don't know. We don't know.
We do not.
What is going on, and then we're going to try to guess, or what's that word?
Determined.
What are they?
Hypothesize?
I had a law school professor that used to say
hypothetical.
No, but it was hypothecate. Or it was a
hypothecate.
Hypothecate. That's the word. They used to say that. Used to drive me nuts. Hypothecate.
You sure it's not pontificate?
It might be that too. It was all kinds of. Law school was a blur to me. Law school was a blur. I know Rodriguez Law School was a blur because he lives in Harvard, and I don't think he. Were you sober at any of the classes?
Oh, absolutely. Come on, 99.99. There was maybe one ethics course where I,
where you came in a little late.
The course met at 4:20 every day, so you had to.
In the afternoon. In the afternoon?
Fred, never mind. Fred, you went right over his head.
Well, I know. In the morning, I get that.
No. We're hearkening back to the marijuana laws now. 420 is
yes, I did not catch that. That went over my head.
Anyway, Fred went to law school so long ago that you probably don't remember any of it.
I think it was 1908 or 09. Yes. And there's a thing called computers I heard were coming. Seriously, when I went to law school, I remember this new thing was laptop computers. Everyone was using them. I'm like, What's that?
When I went to law school, there was this thing called online legal research that was coming around. No joke. All the professors said, well, you could learn it, but, the books are much better. This is not going to take off.
Because my book we're using that I sell to you. That's exactly right. Well, don't forget, we got to throw the disclaimer out. We've got these disclaimers going out. We have to say these things. Number one, we're all California lawyers. I am barred in Washington, D.C. because we are heard throughout the western United States and on SRN satellite radio. We talk about the general law. If you have any issues or legal problems, seek a local counsel in your state to help you out, and find a counsel that generally does that area of law. We find too many times, and all of us here kind of have our certain areas that we handle. They go to a lawyer that's just going to try to do everything, and that's okay if it's a smaller town to some degree, but there's lawyers that specialize in things and only do certain areas of law. It's generally better to try to do that. Now, I have lawyers out there, I do general law, I can do it all. Maybe not. Good luck in doing a high-powered personal injury case that is very complicated. If you do general practice law, you're not going to be able to stay up on it.
I look at it this way. If you had a problem with your nose or something where you needed to go see an ear, nose, and throat doctor, you wouldn't go to a podiatrist.
Well, you might. If you're in a small town, you might have to.
Well, unless, of course, as my dad says, if your nose runs and your feet smell, you're built upside down. But regardless, yeah, you'd want to seek out an attorney that practices in the field that your problem arises.
This hour, we're going to talk about apps, whether or not they fall under the ADA, American Disabilities Act. We're going to talk about the Las Vegas shootings, the latest on that issue, and they're trying to get more evidence that is being held back by the government from, actually it's CBS suing, trying to get more information out of the government about the warrants and the affidavits from the warrant. We're going to discuss that. And I think the funnest one that actually Denise is excited to talk about is the driverless shuttle, the first one in Las Vegas that crashed its first day. And then we're going to talk about Flint water issues, and then we're going to go from there. But let's talk.
Any case or no case this hour?
But now we're going to talk about case or no case. Roll it, Cal.
What? Oh, okay, sure.
Now it's time to play Case or No Case.
Yeah, take the candy bar out of your mouth, Cal.
Well, no, I honestly, I was thinking we got to get ready for the break here, but that's okay. That's fine.
We
have
got 2
time.
minutes.
Here is our case that we shall consider here today. I take you to the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. A woman is in a restaurant, gets up, slips and falls, and breaks her tailbone. Sues the restaurant. However, the thing that makes this case or no case interesting is that the drink on which she slipped is a drink she had thrown in her boyfriend's face only 30 seconds before. Is that a case? Is it not a case? Chris Rodriguez, what do you say?
I'll go quick. I know we don't have much time. Absolutely not a case. The legal question is going to be whether the restaurant was negligent in any way. If somebody is going to throw a drink in their companion's face and then get up and storm off, there's nothing the restaurant can do to prevent that.
Okay, so you say not a case.
Correct.
Todd Cunin, case or no case?
I am going to say, along the same lines as Chris, no case. If she is the one who created it, and it's not foreseeable that this would happen, just based upon the limited facts you gave us, I would say no case.
By the way, those are all the facts I have. You're going to have to just go with that information.
You couldn't make up any more?
That's all.
There's no DBA Versatech?
Denise, he's never going to let me forget. Denise Dirks, case or no case?
I'm going to say no case.
Okay.
No case. There's no nuisance, nothing that's attractive nuisance, nothing that's there.
I'm going to say it depends, Fred. You're going to Fred because we got 30 seconds.
Yeah.
It depends whether or not the restaurant knew she threw the water on the ground and they should have cleaned it up. We'll be right back to find out whether or not case or no case. Fred Penny's right. Denise? Todd?
I think it sounds like her boyfriend was an attractive nuisance.
Or maybe not attractive enough.
We got the nuisance part. We'll be back with the answer for case or no case in a bit, right here. Don't go away.
This is no fun. Can we stop now?
You're listening to RadioLawTalk.com. And now back to your host, Frederick Penny.
That is my favorite little saying of those little kids saying that. I just love that, Cal. I love that. Don't you ever get rid of that little tidbit there.
I thought that was your associate, Fred. That
Might
does all
be.
your legal research.
Well,
No?
I know he snuck someone in here. I don't know who it was. It might have been. Or their kids. Hey, you know what we were talking about? Case or no case in Pennsylvania, slip and fall. A lady sued the restaurant, slipping and falling on a substance, drink, water, or whatever it was, from her throwing it at her boyfriend.
Yep.
Case or no case?
She throws it in her boyfriend's face and then sues the restaurant. And so, anybody here say it was a case? Fred said yes.
No, they're all of us said cases. Did we? Oh, I'm
No,
wrong.
I said no.
I said
It's
no
a case. It's a case.
You know what? I want to change.
But they're going to lose.
I want to change.
Okay, Chris Rodriguez.
Sorry.
Case or no case?
Only because I'm going to say the only theory she might have is if the floor was so ill-equipped to handle just a little bit of a drink. It was a dangerous condition because it's foreseeable that a wet substance might get on the floor and someone would get
Let
it.
me comment on that. What I said, I want to make sure you're clear. It depends. I think the restaurant knew that happened, and they just ignored it and left it sitting there.
But he said 30 seconds.
Remember, it was 30 seconds after she threw the drink in her face. 30 seconds.
Good. And the waitress was standing right there with her towel. I don't know. Depends. Go ahead.
No, she was standing there with Depends. Is that what you
She might have been standing there with the pins and her towel. Go ahead, Cal.
Okay,
What's
so
the answer?
is it a case?
Yes.
Or is it not
say
a case? The answer is... It is a case, and she won from the restaurant.
Oh, Fred Penny. Wait, Fred Penny.
Wait. Listen till you hear this. She won $112,000 for this case because she suffered a fractured tailbone. So they paid all of those damages. And Chris, I don't get it. And I think many people listening say, "I don't know. How can this possibly be a case?" The
Would you
woman threw the
listen
drink
to
and she
me?
fell on her drink. How? It's just.
Fred, do you have an office in
Let me
Pennsylvania?
tell you,
that sounds like the kind of result you get.
I get results on everything. That's the difference. And I'm telling you guys, you didn't know. The important issue were the facts that whether or not that restaurant knew. It's all over the floor, and I could see the restaurant and the waitress just getting ticked, and I believe it. She should have been mad about it and said, "I ain't picking that up." 30 seconds is a long time, and just says, "Screw it," walks away.
Can't you see it's a busy lunch hour? She's got 5 tables. This one just made a big mess. She's got food in her arms here. I mean,
I look. I'm not saying anything other than
There had to be some facts
Something
that were
else.
not
Right, something.
we're
Yeah.
missing something.
I tried to do the deep down research on this. It's kind of an old case. It's from the mid 1990s, so I couldn't get enough information. But that's what they told. That's what they put out there as the case. So
Chris was in kindergarten back then, so he doesn't know that. Hey, let's talk about the Las Vegas issue and the shootings. We've discussed that in the past. What a sad day that this tragic event happened. But what you have to know about this shooting is there's a lot of lawsuits going on right now, and we've talked about this in prior shows and about the details of that. We're not going to get into that. What we're talking about this time is the lawsuits of CBS, as one of them, suing the government to saying release more information. They want more information because the government is holding back warrants. They're holding back the affidavits about the warrants. And the big issue is, well, there's a number of issues, but one is the supposed suspect is dead. And so if he was alive and they're prosecuting him, there's more of a little bit of a issue there. But some of the arguments, this guy's dead, why are you holding stuff back because of this information? So go ahead and tell us kind of what the situation is. Go ahead, Denise.
Well,
or
first we
Chris,
want
or-
to thank our research. Garrett Penny from Brigham Young School of Law has done our research today. He actually runs our program, and we have law students that do the research for us on our topics, and then they get a scholarship. And Garrett Penny is the one who is actually running the program and getting the students. So we wanted to specifically thank Garrett. Thank you. Thank you. He did it for the veterans topic we did, and he's done it for this topic as well.
Oh.
And I see a picture of Garrett Penny, and he's a mighty fine-looking young man because
There we go.
he looks just like his mom.
That's exactly right. He does. And by the way, the reason we do this is it's a great opportunity for law students to do research for us. And we have a lot of them. And I just said I couldn't bring it up because my son, we said, you do one. And he's oversees this thing, and he gets other law students to do it throughout the country, other law schools. And I said, you do it. And I said, Denise, thanks for giving Garrett kudos.
Does he want a signed mug, or has he had his fill of Law Talk memorabilia?
He wants other swag. I think he wants a T-shirt.
Yeah, I think we'll have to give him a T-shirt because he doesn't want the mug swag.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Let's talk about the Las Vegas
Okay,
thing.
so actually it's a bunch of journalists that are suing to try to get access to the search warrants and what created the prima facie case for the search warrants. And it is American Broadcast Company, the Associated Press, Cable News Network, Chesapeake Media, and Los Angeles Times Communication and New York Times Communication and WP Company.
So
and
all the big
Post.
media outlets want more information that the state of Nevada and the law enforcement agencies are withholding.
Right.
Exactly. So they want to have information specifically about the Harvest Country Music Festival that occurred on October 1st, 2017 in Las Vegas. And they make a pretty compelling case. They say, there's no reason for the confidentiality here because exactly what Fred said, the Stephen Paddock, I think was his name. Yes, Stephen Paddock, he's no longer alive. It's not going to prejudice a case against him. And because everybody's telling us that only one person was involved, then we really have a right to know. We have a really important First Amendment right, but we have a right under Nevada law as well to know.
Yeah, let me read the Nevada law. The Nevada revised statute, Section 239.010, a government entity that has legal custody or control of a public book or record shall not deny a request made pursuant to subsection 1 to inspect or copy or receive a copy of a public book or record on the basis that the requested public book or record contains information that is confidential. Yep, keep playing it. This is boring. I'm almost done. If the governmental entity can redact, delete, or conceal sensitive parts, basically. So, and that's what they're saying is that they don't want to do that. Right. So let's go on. We got to take a break. We're going to come back and talk about this after the half hour. So we're at the bottom of the hour. We'll be right back with Radio Law Talk and talk more about this public records issue in Las Vegas. Welcome to Radio Law Talk. I'm Frederick Penny, your host. Cal Hunter was in the bathroom. What were you doing in there, Cal?
Don't ask, don't tell.
This is not exactly a friendly layout for a guy who has to run and take a quick tinkle. You know what I'm trying to say?
he is.
Holy
we're like
Christmas.
we've got our call screener going. We're starting, and Cal's running in there.
The elevator got stuck. I don't know what to tell.
That's what they all say. So we're talking about the Las Vegas affidavits of the shooting in Las Vegas. So go ahead and continue to. Rodriguez is laughing because he's so happy it's not on him now.
No, he's laughing because he gets all the double entendres. That's why he's laughing.
Exactly right. Whatever that means. Go ahead.
So they want. So what they want? What the news outlets want is they want the background to the affidavits. The search warrants have already been released and are public record, but they want the affidavits behind the search warrant so they can see who said what and what created the prima facie case, so that the search warrants would issue.
And to let people know, when a law enforcement officer applies for a search warrant, what they have to do is to show the judge that there's probable cause for the information that they are seeking. And so then they have to go ahead and release evidence that may not be readily available to the public and most likely is not. And then the court makes a determination that, okay, there was probable cause. And so these news agencies, as you said, are like, what did they say to you that made you say there was probable cause? That's where we make our news story.
That's right. And that's not the only information that the news outlets are looking for. They're also looking for body cameras on the policing agencies.
And we're talking about two different things here. So the unsealing of the warrant or warrants, plural, was one that was filed with the court to unseal the warrants. The body cam videos was a separate action under the Nevada Public Records Act that was filed in the district court. I think it's the 8th district down in Nevada, filed before the court to force the Las Vegas Metro Police Department to release body cam videos, 911 calls, any other stuff that was attendant to this investigation under the Public Records Act, because when they submitted their request to the Las Vegas Metro Police Department, the uniform response to every agency was, it's part of an ongoing investigation.
Typical.
It is evidence in the ongoing investigation, and we are not going to turn it over to you at this time.
So, Todd, I'm going to interrupt you there. So, what I said as we started this segment was, but the guy's dead. But tell us about the other issues of possibilities, or Denise, of other things coming out in these affidavits.
Well, sure. So the official story that we've got right now is that Paddock was a lone actor, and he is now deceased. So the idea is, how can you be investigating to see what happened with the deceased? Now, that is a very narrow way to look at things. First of all, assuming that that is all true and that it was a lone actor, there would still be an ongoing investigation to determine the police response to it, to determine the emergency medical personnel response to it. They need to investigate everything to determine whether or not there were any errors in reacting to this. And then the second is, there are a lot of people, and some reports, and I've even seen videos on YouTube purportedly from folks that were there taking things on their cell phones, that there may have been multiple shooters, that multiple people may have been involved with this. Now, I could understand law enforcement saying, well, if the official narrative that is out there right now was that it was a single actor, and we are investigating because we have credible evidence that there were multiple actors, that might not be information that I, as an investigator, want to be out there to tip off the allegedly or potentially other actors to know that we are looking for them. I would love for them to sit there and think that they're safe because we have one actor, and maybe mess up and tip their hand. So I don't think, especially given that it's only about a month after the incident, I don't think that it is a stretch at all for law enforcement to say that there's an ongoing investigation. I would note that in the filing, ABC and CNN kept referring to it as, quote, purportedly ongoing investigations, which would suggest that maybe they don't believe there's an ongoing investigation. They may have even, if I remember correctly,
there is.
They cited the fact that, look, everybody accepts that it's just one person. What are they investigating? It's a very narrow view, but Nevada does have this procedure. It's not a blanket, you don't get at records of an ongoing investigation, but the prevailing case they rely upon weighs heavily in favor of not turning over information of an ongoing investigation.
You walked into my wheelhouse. I actually helped teach a police officer standard training class on media relations. And here's the problem.
Did you tell him you were a 3-time Emmy Award
That's
nominee?
how I got the gig, man.
Oh, that's what I thought. Okay.
Okay. Here's the problem. Anytime police agencies withhold information when it's obvious from the outside that the stories you've been given are not lining up, what do they create? An information vacuum. What happens? It gets filled by conspiracy theorists, by nut jobs, by people with their cell phone, by a guy in Alabama who claimed he got a vision from God that told him what happened. I mean, this is the case.
I didn't know that.
So news agencies are saying, look, this is what you've told us. We have information that indicates this. We want to take this and reconcile. Why would a news department want to do it? To hold the police agency accountable. That's part of their job under the First Amendment.
I get that, but we're dealing with a whole brave new world here.
True.
Where there is so much information, and in a chaotic situation like this, you have innumerable amounts of recordings and videos from all different angles.
Right.
And so it can cause confusion by too much information being out there. And the bottom line is, and I've handled a number of these cases, all of the laws in all the various states, there are open record laws in every state and the federal open record law. And the premise is we want government to be open with the public, but at the same time, we don't want to cause problems. We want to recognize that the government has legitimate business to do, and so we've got to protect these various interests. So the default is, let's give the information out unless there's a really good reason not to. So for example, in this case, let's say that there are police officers on their radio saying, we've got multiple shooters, and now they know for a fact that there were no multiple shooters. It was just one shooter, and those kinds of statements were caused by the confusion and the chaos.
The fog of war.
Why would we want that out there? I mean, there may be a legitimate interest in protecting some of that information until they can get a better handle on it.
I totally get that. I totally get that.
And
But,
I would say in a situation like that, ultimately, that information would probably come out, because, especially under the Nevada statutes, because the public has an interest in knowing how well prepared their police first responders were, how well prepared the police department was for that. My point on this, though, is, and I get where Cal is coming from, the need for the press, to the extent that they honor that stewardship to keep government accountable and under the First Amendment. But my issue with this here is we are only about a month removed from this. And from my time when I was a district attorney and working with police departments and knowing how long it takes to get investigations done, especially what could be complicated investigations, to say that this was wrapped up just because the suspect was dead in a month, I think that it's legitimate that there is an ongoing investigation here for a lot of reasons. And it's not to say that the press won't get this information. It's just that I don't know that they need it right now. And Denise, you and I were also talking about issues of confidentiality for victims.
For the victims. So if you see these body cam photos, they need to redact them so they're not so shocking and they're not showing the victims anguish or the victims in pure distress, because that's going to hurt the family members. That's going to hurt the victims themselves. And this is part of what they have to do, is they have to make sure they're not releasing so much information that's going to hurt the victims or other people.
And in fact, in the state of Nevada, it is a felony to release information, even if it's pursuant to the Public Records Act. It would be a felony for somebody to release the information if it contained the personal or identifying information of a victim or another individual without proper notice to them. And my guess is there's so many body cams and so much out there that even if it was closed 2 days after the incident in its paddock, to expect that they would have been able to get to all of these items to redact them in the month is also a stretch.
Absolutely.
Well, I think the recordings of the phone calls that were received are kind of an easier issue. I think
agree.
that should be able to be, handed out and opened up, because I do think that those would be easier. It's an easier question in terms of
I mean, there are other
release.
issues too in terms of public safety. I mean, there may be this information may expose some vulnerabilities in the Las Vegas security systems and other ways that they're vulnerable, and until people can close those up, I mean, there's all kinds of different reasons why it might be in everybody's interest for the government to keep this information.
Right, and the government actually bears the burden on it too.
That's exactly right. So we're going to be back after this break and talk a little bit more about the Las Vegas shootings and driverless shuttles that are getting in accidents.
Hey, tweet us at Radio Law Talk. We'd love to hear from you.
know of any law case that might be worthy of an appearance on our Case or No Case segment, send the information to info@radiolawtalk.com. Be sure to put Case or No Case in the subject line, and if we use your submission, you're eligible for a special award.
If you really want to know what happens at Radio Law Talk, you have to watch our YouTube channel and see really what happens during the break, and that's where the craziness happens. We had Rodriguez making fun of MIT people, the Harvard guy making fun of MIT people, and then we've got the guy over here. Were you making fun of MIT people?
I may have been profiling. I admit it. I may have been MIT profiling.
Now there's like this Harvard MIT. There's like a big. That's like rivalry, isn't it?
I can't think of a less interesting rivalry. Neither, I mean, unless we're academics, obviously they're very, smart people at both schools. But that's about as far as it goes. They're not good in any sport. They're not particularly interesting in any way. I can't really think of anything.
Does MIT even have a sports program?
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
I mean, I know that Harvard does, and the Ivy League schools and stuff. But does
we played them? I was on the varsity baseball team for a very short amount of time. We played MIT in baseball, and this is kind of a funny story. The pitcher for MIT was having a hard time throwing strikes, right? And the last guy he walked, he threw ball 4, and he said as loud as he could, "Oh shucks!" And we thought that was the funniest thing that this guy couldn't come up with anything better or bluer than
Did the pencils fall out of his pocket when he said, "Oh shucks"?
Yeah, probably so. But anyway,
well, let's talk about Las Vegas.
Well, there was one other thing about why there might be an ongoing investigation, and that is, look, we've got a lot of law enforcement officers responding to this. I mean, probably the entire police department was responding to this, and the sheriff's department, and any other law enforcement folks that might have been around. And if anybody discharged their weapon at all, I mean, discharge of a weapon by a law enforcement officer is immediately going to trigger a internal investigation surrounding the circumstances, or about the circumstances surrounding that. Now, we haven't heard reports publicly about that happening, but that may have happened. And there's a whole bunch of reasons why there would be an ongoing investigation. And this is the point, that go beyond whether or not Paddock is the guy who did it. There's just a lot of investigation that goes on in a situation like this.
But a wise police department would have statistics. We had 3 officer weapon discharges. We're investigating every one of those. We've had XYZ, because I'll tell you, I'd love to be the TV producer that was in a courtroom when the department said, we can't give you information because we feel we have a compromise of our security system and we don't want people to know about that. I would love to be the TV producer on that.
And here's something that I tried to find and could not find it. But this claim for the Public Records Act was filed on the 1st of November. Now, here we are on the 11th of November. Right now, I tried to find any filing from Las Vegas Metro or Clark County to respond to that, what they were arguing in their moving papers to respond. It wasn't available anywhere to find it, but I agree with you. I would love to see what the arguments were, and to see how the court employed the balancing test as found in Donry of Nevada versus Bradshaw, where they balance the need to know versus the legitimacy of the ongoing investigation. Right. We don't know where that is right now, but I agree. I would love to have seen that.
Each reply is a news story. If you think
exactly.
About it.
Because when this was filed, it was filed with a request that it be expedited. They want it now. They didn't want this. This isn't something that we want waiting in the wind for the next 45 days or 2 months like sometimes court cases can take.
Yeah. This is a fascinating area to me, and you talk about journalism. A lot of times I feel like the role of journalists is to get as much information as they can and put it out there. And I think it's an ethics question in terms of journalism, when you can say things that might compromise the public safety or public good. And I feel like a lot of journalists are just always out there trying to get more information. So I'd be interested to hear you talk about that. Maybe this show isn't the right time to do it, but
I can tell you briefly that as a news director, I was a news director for a lot of years, had pretty good-sized departments, good people, a lot of people who went to great, Rich Eisen, the NFL Network. I hired that guy. I mean, a lot of good people that have gone on to great markets. And I would say, look, we're not the cops, but we're also not here to mess with their work. The first question a newscast has to answer when you poke your nose out the door and turn on a TV is it safe outside? And if so, great. And if not, why not? Right? And that's what this gets down to. Is it safe in Las Vegas? If not, why not? And that's a pretty compelling thing.
But when you say, when you answer that question, the why not, aren't you telling people that want to do bad things how they can go about doing them? And isn't there a line there that should be respected?
That truly is a case by case, I would think. But yes, the answer is that's a possibility, and that's a line you wouldn't cross. I would hope, right?
But it's interesting. You kind of ask yourself, I know they're doing this for the public good to some degree, but they're doing it to they want to get the story first. I mean, is that true, Cal? I mean, someone wants to get the story. Who's the guy? Who's the guy or gal that gets the first affidavit? They're going to be bam. They're going to be heard her first on such and such station.
Okay, but it's like a police officer. The bigger the bust, the bigger the boost. It's like a news reporter. True. The bigger the story, the bigger the scoop. I mean, sure, everyone has their personal motives, but ultimately, the job of a news reporter is to act as a member of the general public who knows how to get access.
That's why they're suing.
And answer
Cal.
those questions.
That's why they're suing, Cal. Because if it's about a kitty cat that was injured, they might not have been brought the lawsuit. You know,
I would have brought one if it was a cat.
That's exactly why I brought that up. I was waiting for that comment. But it just depends upon how big the story is, Cal. And it's such a big story.
But the story is caused by public interest. It's a big story because the whole world wants answers to this. And they came out with this timeline from the cops, and then the hotel comes out with that timeline. If I'm a reporter, I'm saying, whoa, wait a minute here. Something isn't lining up. Let's get to the bottom of that. So I'm asking for information. Yeah. That's my job.
Let's back up. In today's world, when everything's instant, with the computers, with your Twitter account, it's changed. I think in the 70s, it's been a month. Oh my gosh, yeah, you're right. Let us know in 6 months. You know, it's changed, and I think this is a real issue, a legal issue that a lot of constitutional issues are going to be tweaked and questions in the future because of the speed of information nowadays.
The 24-hour news cycle has put extra pressure on everybody, from the cops to the reporters to the 24-hour channel guys who say, how come they have that and we don't? I mean, that's how it works.
Right, to get it right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just saying 3 minutes.
You're saying 3 minutes, yeah. Okay, so let's move on beyond this. I want to talk a little bit about this driverless shuttle, and Denise says, please, let's get to this. And Radio Law Talk, it's so tough for us. When we first started back in March, or I don't know, we started in March, we were a 1 hour show. We're 3 hours now, and we can't get through stuff fast enough. There's so much information. Or maybe we've just become good at talking to each other, right? But Denise, tell us about this hilarious, interesting story in Las Vegas.
All right, this is such. I like this story so much. In Las Vegas, it's one of the very first driverless electric shuttle bus that made its debut downtown on Wednesday, and within a couple of hours, it was involved in an accident. So you're wondering, okay, so does this mean that this kind of a driverless shuttle is not going to work? No, it was not the shuttle drivers or the driverless shuttles fault. It was actually a truck driver who backed into the shuttle. So the shuttle comes up upon the truck, sees that the truck is not moving, stops appropriately, and the truck backs in and hits the shuttle. So the police, even at that point, cited the driver of the truck for illegal backing.
Okay, here's the question. Number one, this is the personal injury lawyer jumping in. What happens when someone's backing into you and you're sitting there? What do?
You back up.
No, honk. You honk the horn. Why didn't the driverless computer honk its horn? And it might have stopped the accident. Now, what happens when the driverless vehicle hits the car? Does the cop give the driverless vehicle a ticket? How's he do that? Or how's she do that?
I have no idea.
I don't know the answer to that.
I would know. Interestingly enough, when I was reading up on this, these driverless shuttles only have a max speed of like 10 to 15 miles an hour. They're not going very fast.
They're not, and they have the ability to talk to the traffic signals and share the road. So they have the ability to say, share the road.
I think the driver of the truck was for a rival company and intentionally made the accident just to thwart everything.
There you go. Next week, we're running out of time. Next week, we're going to talk about bankruptcies of Toys R Us and Dairy Queen. And we're going to be running out of time here in a minute. We want to thank the Nevada Talk Network, which also includes, by the way, Talk 360 in Texas. Thank you for calling in. We've had callers call in, and we want you to tweet us at Radio Law Talk. Join Todd, who is not going to be here next week, but is actually doing a commercial. But join myself, Denise, Cal, Chris, and Seth Madden, our call screener, next week at Radio Law Talk. Thanks for listening.
You have been listening to RadioLawTalk.com, a copyrighted presentation of Radio Law Talk Incorporated.